My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Tales from the Crypt Season 6. And I actually kind of liked this season, and I really wasn't expecting to. This might be my second favorite season of the entire show. There was only one episode I loved, but there was 8 others that are enjoyable. And like 9 good episodes and 6 bad ones, that's actually a very good ratio. 6, 9, 69. Classic. But anyways, let's begin by talking about the worst episode, and it's called Whirlpool. And it focuses on this girl who's stuck in a Groundhog Day situation, and it had potential, but the execution just sucks. There's nothing memorable here, and nothing, and I mean nothing, stands out about it. The second worst episode is Revenge is the Nuts, which focuses on a bunch of blind people who want revenge against their terrible caretaker, and I just feel like this was a real basic revenge story, and it's instantly forgettable. The third worst episode is The Bribe, and I actually kind of like the start of this episode, but then it just falls off, and I didn't really care for the story, and by the end, it's really forgettable and pretty sucky overall. The fourth worst episode is The Assassin. And okay, judging by the IMDb ratings, this is a really hot take. But I kind of loved this episode for the first 90%. But then we get to that twist. And I won't give it away, but come on. It actually kind of reminds me of a movie called Predestination. That movie does that twist much better, but holy shit. The ADR, come on. I couldn't take it seriously, and it played itself so straight, ironically. So, yeah, terrible episode. The fifth worst episode is Only Skin Deep, which I actually thought had a pretty decent end, but getting to that point was so incredibly bland, so I didn't really care for it. And the sixth worst episode is In the Groove, which, okay, the girl in it, her voice was bugging me. I'm like, who is this? And then I looked her up. Wendy Malick. I've never heard this name before. So I looked up her filmography, and I'm like, John Goodman's wife in Emperor's New Groove. That's where I recognized her before, because it was driving me nuts, and she has a very distinct voice, and she does a good job here. I also like the main guy. What was his name? In the Groove, Miguel Phil. Yeah, he does a pretty decent job too. The issue is the story just kind of sucks here. So not good. But now let's talk about the ones I did enjoy. And the ninth best one is Surprise Party. And I thought this episode started off pretty weak, but it does get better, and there are some cool effects at the end. It's nothing incredible, but it's entertaining enough. And the eighth best one is 99 and 44 out of 100% pure whole. Now, I was actually going to hate on this episode because it's just a typical Tales from the Crypt storyline. Like, this girl's cheating on her husband, and then things escalate, and then something terrible happens to the victim. And I'm like, I don't really care for this episode. But the final minute went full crazy and had some insane practical effects that elevated this episode in every sense. So generic but strong ends on a very strong note. The 7th best episode is The Pit, and this episode got really bad reviews on IMDb, but I just found this one to be entertaining. These two wrestlers who have to fight but kind of like each other, and their wives are just annoying about it. Like, it's nothing overly great, but it's silly, it's entertaining. I kind of like the ending. It's enjoyable. The 6th best one is Comes the Dawn. And this one reminds me of that terrible vampire movie, 30 Days of Night. But it's executed in a way that I found a bit more effective here. I love some of the sound effects here. Love the practical effects. I kind of wish it was stronger, but I still really enjoyed it. For the most part. The one aspect dragging this episode down was Vivian Wu's performance. I don't say this lightly, but this is the worst performance I've seen from the show. Not a single line delivery of hers is convincing here, and she just really stuck out like a sore thumb. The 5th best episode is Stared in Horror, which, okay, I like. You know, I like it when movies and shows are about aging and mortality and they have a supernatural twist to it. You don't really know what's going on at first, and there's a certain level of mystery. But then it ends and I'm like, that's it? Really? I kind of wish it was longer. Like, good ideas present, just too bare bones to really stand out. The 4th best episode is Operation Friendship, which kind of reminded me of that movie Drop Dead Fred with Phoebe Cates and I think Carrie Fisher's in it. And, who plays Drop Dead Fred? Sorry, I gotta look this up. This is going to bug me. Rick Mile? I was not going to guess that name. Anyways, this episode kind of reminded me of that movie. But I feel like this one has a bit more of a psychological element, and I do think it ends on a really strong note. My issue is, once again, it's kind of too short. Like, I feel like there was a really strong story here, but I feel like we just got the most simplistic version of it. And I would have liked it to be at least a tiny bit longer. The 3rd best episode is Doctor of Horror, and it's always a nice surprise to see Ben Stein, whether it's The Mask or Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You know, he just has a really distinct presence, but I thought the entire cast here did a really good job. I kind of like the creativity of the plot here. I like some of the character work, and there's some cool practical effects. Never gets to greatness, but still pretty consistently solid. The 2nd best one is You, Mordor, which has John Lithgow in it, who does a pretty good job. And I just really like the way this one is shot. It's shot from a first person's point of view, kind of like Maniac and Don't Stop Me Now, Queen, Hardcore Henry. Yes, that movie's actually really solid. I don't know, I just thought it gave a very fresh perspective to this story, where even though it falls into similar tropes of the show, it kind of felt fresh and new here. I do wish it ended on a stronger note, but still, I would say it's pretty solid. But my favorite episode of this season is maybe my favorite episode of the show. Possibly. I wasn't expecting an episode this strong so late into this series, but it's Let the Punishment Fit the Crime. Catherine O'Hara does a great job here. She captures the manic energy she needed to. Peter McNichol does a great job as well, and same with Joseph Mayo. And I just found this episode to be hilarious. Everything is so over the top and backwards and weird and absurd, and there's no consistency, there's no rules. It's just a complete chaotic mess and you're just stuck in the middle of it. But I found it to be so refreshing. It doesn't feel like any other episode. It's so weird. It's some great practical effects, but it's just really funny. And the ending is actually maybe the dumbest ending, but I mean that in a good way. Like, it's this episode just felt so distinct. I loved it. I really did. And I don't even want to go too much into it because you should go into it as blind as possible. But this episode rules. Might be my favorite episode of the show. So those are my thoughts on the 6th season of Tales from the Crypt. But what's your ranking? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin out.